Study Bars. Today I'm going to discuss a very famous and very interesting novel, The White Tiger by Aravind Adiga. Okay, so let's start with the information about the author. Aravind Adiga was born in 1974 in Madras. He is an Indo-Australian writer and a journalist. He grew up in Mangalore and later moved to Sydney, Australia with his family. He studied English literature at Columbia College of Columbia University. He received his graduate degree in English literature in 1997 from the prestigious Columbia University of the USA. He won the Man Booker Prize for his debut novel, The White Tiger, in 2008, the same novel we are going to discuss today. He is the fourth Indian-born author to win the Man Booker Prize after Salman Rushdie, Arundhati Roy and Kiran Desai. About the novel. This novel is an epistolary novel which is written in the form of letters. The narrator, the protagonist, Balram, writes letters to Chinese Premier Wen Jiabo to tell his story of becoming an entrepreneur, how he becomes a rich, successful businessman. So he writes letter to tell his story. It is a dark comedy. It's a satire. The narration is the first person narration because Balram narrates his own story, so it is written in first person narration. Narrator, as I told you, is Balram Halwai and the technique is flashback. Okay, so this novel is divided into 8 chapters. Chapter 1, the first night. Chapter 2, the second night. Chapter 3, the fourth morning. Chapter 4, the fourth night. Chapter 5, the fifth night. Chapter 6, the sixth morning. Chapter 7, the sixth night. And the last chapter is the seventh night. Now let's have a look on the plot of the novel. The entire novel is narrated through letters by Balram Halwai to Premier of China, who is soon going to visit India. Because Balram believes his rags to riches tale will impress the Premier. In Lakshmangarh, Balram was born and brought up in a poor family from the Halwai caste, which is known as sweet makers. The village is dominated and oppressed by 4 landlords known as the wild boar, the stork, the buffalo and the raven. Balram, here in this chapter, Balram also admits that he has no formal education, but he has developed into a self-taught entrepreneur. In his letter, he describes the miserable condition of his village. The village is owned by 4 landlords. They own the river, the land, the road. They have big mansions, and they charge the exorbitant fees for using their resources. He says that his village is a part of darkness. Here in this novel, it is important to note that throughout the novel, the darkness represents the poor class, poverty. So Balram's mother died when he was only 7 years old. Balram's father is a struggling rickshaw driver. His grandmother Kusum is a dominating figure in his family. And he also narrates in the same chapter that his parents had never bothered to give him a proper name. He was simply called Munna. The literal meaning of Munna is a boy, is simply a boy. It is not a proper name, so his school teacher gives him this name, Balram. Balram was a very smart child. He recounts an incident when a government inspector visited the school and was impressed by Balram's intelligence. He calls him a white tiger, a rare creature. But despite of being good in his studies, he has to leave his school because his family forces him to work with his brother in a tea shop in Dhanbad so that they can pay for his cousin's dowry. Okay, in this section, Balram also uh, exposes the endemic corruption in education system. He describes how his teacher Mr. Krishna used to steal government money allocated for school lunches and uniforms and justify his act by saying that he himself had not been paid for 6 months. Despite being good in studies, he had to leave his school and had to work on a tea shop with his brother. Here again, Aravind Adiga tries to expose the social evils and social traditions. It is a tradition for the bride's family to throw a lavish party and provide a dowry, and it is a kind of burden on the bride's family. So Balram's family had taken a loan from the stork to provide the dowry. Balram starts his new job and he describes himself as a bad servant but good in listening. He used to eavesdrop the conversation of the customers. Here also he mentions that he starts learning about Indian government, Indian economy, and the how these people are corrupt mm, from the customers' conversation. He learns all these things. That is why he calls himself as a self-taught entrepreneur. After some time, he decides to become a driver. He learns driving and gets a job driving for Stork's son, that is Mr. Ashok. Balram starts working for Ashok after his father's death. He tells of his father's miserable death from tuberculosis, which he contracted after years of pulling rickshaw in a polluted environment. Because there was no hospital in his village, he had to take his father to the government hospital across the river, where he found countless people sitting on newspapers and waiting for the doctor. Here again in this scene, he describes a corrupt scheme that allows doctors to make extra money at private hospitals. They ignore their patients in the government hospital and work in private to earn more money. Balram's father died on the floor without even seeing a doctor. So this here in this scene, Aravind Adiga tries to once again expose the corruption. He takes over the job of the main driver. He stops sending money back to his family and disrespects his grandmother during a trip back to his village. Here also important thing to note is after becoming a driver, when he goes back to his village, his grandmother forces him to get married. Over this he had an argument with his family and decided to never go back to his village. Taking over the job of the main driver was not so easy for him. When he joined the job, the stork already had a driver, Ram Prasad. Balram and Ram Prasad had a very tense and competitive relationship. Ram Prasad always treats him as inferior. But after some time, Balram discovers that Ram Prasad was not a Hindu, he was a Muslim man. He changed his name to get the job. When this secret got revealed, Balram takes over his job and becomes the main driver. Here again, the writer tries to highlight the discrimination on the basis of caste and religion. After becoming after becoming the main driver, Balram moves to New Delhi with Ashok and his wife Pinky Madam. One night in Delhi, Pinky Madam drives car while drunk, accidentally hits and kills a child. Ashok's family put pressure on Balram to confess that he was driving alone and to go to jail in Pinky Madam's place. Stokes bribes police and the case is dropped. Pinky Madam ends her marriage to Ashok and leaves the country. Ashok begins drinking heavily and going out to clubs. Ashok also starts a love affair with Miss Uma. Ashok becomes increasingly involved in bribing government officials for the benefit of the family's business, frequently collecting money as bribes for government officials. Here again, the writer tries to highlight the corrupt politicians, the corrupt government officials, and how they used to bribe and they used to fraud, like to gain the personal benefit. After witnessing all this, Balram starts disliking Ashok and concludes that he will have to murder if he wants to escape what he calls the rooster coop of poverty. Rooster coop is a symbol used by Adiga. It's very important. Rooster coop symbolizes the trap of poverty. Balram stabs Ashok in the neck with a broken whiskey bottle and steals the red bag. After killing Ashok, Balram runs away with 7 lakh rupees. He goes to Bangalore and starts his new taxi business by bribing the local police. He names his company White Tiger Technology. Balram's business grows through bribery and corruption because that is the thing he learned with Ashok. Like when he stayed with Ashok, he learns how to give bribes and take personal benefits, and he becomes an increasingly powerful and influential figure. As proof of this, he explains how when one of his drivers hit and killed a child, he was able to simply pay off the family and use his connections to make the case disappear, just like the stork had done, because the same incident had happened with Balram himself. That is why he learned all these things and how to bribe people and how to use the connections. As Balram finishes his letter to Jiabo, he justifies the murder of Ashok and of his own family as being necessary step in his struggle for freedom, and presents the whole grim tale as a positive story of entrepreneur success. Okay, now let's have a look on the important characters of the novel. Balram Halwai, as I have already told you, that he is the narrator, he is the protagonist, and he is presented as an anti-hero. He narrates his story from rags to riches to Wen Jiabo, the premier of China. Mr. Ashok, another important character, Balram's master, and he is the son of Stork, is the brother of Mongoose. Described as very handsome, generally kind and gentle, he trusts Balram unlike the rest of his family. When you read the story, when you read the novel, you will find that only Ashok trusts Balram. Uh, his family, like Stork, his father, the Mongoose, his brother, and even Pinky Madam, they don't trust Balram. Pinky Madam, Ashok's wife, she is an American, unsatisfied with the life in America. She throughout the novel she insists Ashok to go back to America, always hoping to return to America. Kusum, grandmother of Balram. Vijay, Balram's childhood hero. Balram's hope for the better future. The village boys admire his job and uniform. He enters politics, rises in the rank, and becomes powerful politician. The Stork, one of the 4 landlords who control Lakshmangarh, father of Ashok and Mongoose, owns the river, and he is a very corrupt businessman. He steals coal from government mines. And there are some other characters like Vikram Halwai, who is Balram's father, Balram's mother, Kishan, who is Balram's brother, Dharam, who is Balram's cousin, his uncles, his aunts, and the other servants who worked with Balram, Krishna, his teacher, Miss Uma, and the driving instructor. Now let's have a look on the themes of the novel. This novel has many themes, and one of the most prominent theme, which is found everywhere in every chapter of the novel, that is corruption in India. Throughout the narrative, Adiga constantly exposes the prevalence of corruption in all the Indian institutions like schools, hospitals, police, election system, the corrupt politicians, and the government officials. He highlights the practice of bribery. In order to escape the darkness and enter into the light, Balram realizes that he must become a part of this system. So the next theme is globalization. As we can see that the novel also highlights the development in the field of technology and outsourcing. It also addresses the need of a global economy. As the name of Balram's new company suggests, the White Tiger Technology Drivers. So the novel also has a theme of globalization. Now the third one is freedom and individualism. The symbol of rooster coop is important to understand the idea of Balram's freedom. He talks about how he was trapped in the rooster coop and how he broke free from his coop. Throughout the novel, Balram tries to break this trap of poverty. He gives preference to his individualism, his individual choices. Balram sees himself as different from those he grew up with. He is the one who got out of the darkness and found his way into the light. Now again I'm telling you, the darkness symbolizes the poverty, the poor class, and the light symbolizes the upper and rich class. So throughout the novel, throughout the story, Balram tries to break this rooster coop to become a successful businessman and entrepreneur. Now the next fourth one is class difference. The novel also shows the two different worlds, the dark and the light, which means the poor and the upper or rich class. Balram, his family, and the other servants represent the poor class, and the four landlords, Mr. Ashok, Pinky, Mongoose, the corrupt politicians, they all represent the rich class. So here we can see that class difference is very prominently shown in the novel. Social mobility. The novel shows how the social system of India has changed. From the childhood, Balram recognizes the possibility of moving up in the world. As when you read the novel, you will see that from childhood Balram idolizes the man Vijay because of his uniform. So Vijay is the hope for Balram to get a position in the world, in the society. He discusses the issue of social mobility in the new social hierarchy of India. Okay, now the next one is identity. Balram undergoes a transformative journey to make his new identity. At the end of the story, we see that Balram changes his name and starts his new business with the new name, calling himself as Ashok Sharma. He tries hard to construct his new identity. He takes the name of the man he kills. This is the irony of the situation. Okay, the next theme is morality. The story of Balram suggests that morality can be either rigid or flexible. In order to justify killing Ashok and risking his own family's lives, Balram reasons that he had no option. Throughout the novel, throughout this story, he tries to give justification of killing Mr. Ashok. He justifies his decision of killing Ashok because he thinks of himself as an exceptional. He thinks of himself as a white tiger, and he feels compelled to break the rooster coop and to change his life. So he develops an alternate moral system. He he tries to convince himself uh, that he has no option other than killing Mr. Ashok. So he finds a new way, a new moral values to justify his own crime. Now the last one is social and political issues. When you read the novel, I would suggest that you read the novel because it is very interesting. You will find the social and political issues highlighted by the writer, like from the beginning to till the end. This novel talks about the social issues and the political issues, the corruption in India. So these are the themes of the novel. Okay, let's have a look on the symbols. The chandelier, number one, the chandelier. The chandelier symbolizes both his success at becoming a wealthy businessman and his success at moving from the darkness to the light. The second symbol is the black fort. The black fort symbolizes the extreme poverty Balram lives in. The rooster coop, again, it is very important. It is a central metaphor. It represents life in the darkness, a life where the roosters or the people cannot choose their own fate, where they live in poverty, where they have no real control over their lives. The fourth one is the white tiger. The title of the novel itself is a metaphor, itself is a symbol. Balram considers himself a white tiger, a unique and exceptional creature, because he thinks that only a white tiger can break the rooster coop. The last one is the light and darkness. Light represents the rich and upper class, and the darkness represents the poor class. Okay, that's it for today's video, today's class. I hope you will read the novel yourself and you will enjoy it. If you like the video, you subscribe my channel. Thanks for watching.